So I find this to be a fascinating aspect of our biology. A lot of how we feel while we eat and after we eat is because of this vagus sensing of what's in our gut. It's sending information all the time. Is there sugar? Are there fats? Are there contaminants? There are a lot of information, these so-called parallel pathways that are going up into our brain that regulate whether or not we want to eat more of something or not. And there are accelerators, things that make us want to eat more, like sugar and fats, because those are nutrient dense and they help generally, at least in the short term, support the survival of animals. But also amino acids. And this is very important. There are a lot of data, but much of what comes from the data on what people eat and how much they eat is from a subconscious detection of how many amino acids and what the array, meaning the constellation of amino acids, is in a given food. And it's fair to say that the sum total of these studies point in a direction where people will basically eat not until their stomach is full, but until the brain perceives that they have adequate intake of amino acids. Amino acids, of course, are important because they are the building blocks of, sure, muscle and the other things in our body that need repair. But what most people don't realize is that amino acids are what the neurochemicals in the brain are made from. Now, this is vitally important, okay? So we've heard dopamine is this molecule that makes you feel good. Dopamine release is caused by surprise, excitement, events that you're looking forward to and that turn out well. It is inhibited by events you're looking forward to that don't work out. It's called reward prediction error. Your expectation of something releases dopamine, and the actual event releases dopamine. And if the event-related dopamine does not exceed the expectation, or at least match it, there's a much higher tendency that you won't pursue that thing again. Dopamine is what's going to lead us to want to eat more of something or to not want more of something, because dopamine really is about craving. It's about motivation and it's about desire. And as I mentioned, these amino acid sensors in our gut are detecting how many amino acids, but they're also detecting which amino acids. And there's a particular amino acid called L-tyrosine, which comes from food. It is in meats, it is in nuts, it is also in some plant-based foods. L-tyrosine is the precursor to a couple other molecules like L-dopa, et cetera, that make dopamine. However, the dopamine neurons that give rise to these feelings of good or wanting more or desire and motivation, those reside in the brain. So we don't want to get too confused. We want to respect and honor the power of the gut and this vagal pathway, but it's really neurons within your brain that drive the pursuit and decision making. So what does this mean? Well, some people make too little dopamine. Some people make so little dopamine that they need prescription dopamine. They need L-dopa. People with Parkinson's take L-dopa and other compounds to increase dopamine because Parkinson's is associated with deficits in movement. Parkinson's is a depression. It's a blunting of motivation and mood and affect. And it's a tremor. And then eventually in severe conditions, it's challenges in speaking and walking. So some famous examples would be, Muhammad Ali, Michael J. Fox, the great boxing trainer, Freddie Roach. Like, these people have Parkinson's and they, at least later in their life, had challenges speaking. Now, some people immediately ask, well, should I supplement L-tyrosine? It does increase kind of mood and elevation and alertness. It is over the counter. You have to check with your doctor. I'm not responsible for your healthcare and I'm not a doctor, whether or not it's safe for you. People with pre-existing hyperdopaminergic conditions like mania should probably not take L-tyrosine. The other thing about taking L-tyrosine is there is a crash. Okay, it's not a massive crash if you take it at appropriate doses and it's right for you, but it can produce a crash and a lethargy and a kind of brain fog after the next day or so. And so L-tyrosine, however, can be ingested through foods or through supplementation to increase dopamine levels. That's well known. Taken chronically, however, it can disrupt those dopamine pathways. Let's just kind of take stock of where we're at. We have a brain-body connection. There are many of them, but one of the main ones is the vagus nerve. The vagus collects information about a lot of things, breathing, heart rate, stuff that's happening in the gut, etc. And gut, by the way, includes the stomach and the intestines, sends that information up to the brain. The brain is using that information to decide one of two things: move towards something or move away. It can also pause, but essentially pausing is not moving toward. So that's the dopamine pathway, and foods rich in L-tyrosine generally give us an elevated mood and make us want to do more of whatever it is that we happen to be doing, as well as other things. Motivation generalizes to other things. It's not unique to just ingesting foods. But foods that give us a big pulse of dopamine will make us crave more of that food. It will make us crave more of the activity that led to the ingestion of that food. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of that is happening at a subconscious level that you're not even aware of. So the other neuromodulator that's really interesting in the context of the vagus is serotonin. Serotonin, just to remind you, is a neuromodulator. Therefore, it creates a bias in which neural circuits, which neurons in the brain and body are going to be active, and it makes it less likely that other ones are going to be active. And serotonin, when it's elevated, tends to make us feel really comfortable and kind of blissed out wherever we are. And that contrasts with dopamine and epinephrine, which mainly put us in pursuit of things. Motivation is pursuit. The conversation around the brain-body relationship and mood and serotonin for many years was, well, you eat a big meal, the gut is distended, you've got all the nutrients you need, you rest and digest, and serotonin is released. That's sort of true, but there's a lot more going on and a lot more that's interesting and actionable that's going on.